welcome back to the channel. I'm Holly if you're new here, and today we're talking about jumping from a half to a full marathon successfully. Once again, I am making a video that I wish I had had when I was deciding about this jump. If I was going to be able to do it, I wanted somebody to tell me point blank, yes, you can get through a full marathon, or no, you can't. So today I'm going to cover everything you need to know about deciding and what you're really going to need to be expecting in that full marathon compared to the half. Let's jump right in. So you guys are in really good hands in this video because I feel so confident in this subject. I can't even tell you, over the last 10 years, all the jumps I've made in distance, from 5K all the way up now through 100 miles twice, I have convinced myself to sign up for many races that I didn't think I was ready for and then train through and get through those finish lines. So just trust me here, there's a lot of kind of mind games to it, but ultimately you just wanna know what it takes, and that will give you the confidence to know if you're ready or not. So first things first, guys, I have to tell you, when I first signed up for my full marathon, that was the Big Sur Marathon, and I wanna say this was 2014 or 15, somewhere around then, don't quote me on that. I remember thinking when I was going to bed at night, every night during training, all the things that could go wrong during the race. And I swear, I thought what would happen when somebody, DNFs a marathon, I thought you just drop in the middle of the race. Like I'd be going and then I couldn't even pinpoint what exactly it would be, but I would just stop going forward and I would just drop and that would be it. Whether it was mile 16, mile 22, I have no idea. As I said it out loud, it sounded insane, but that is what I thought was going to happen. And I remember telling my dad this, and he's done countless full Ironmans. He used to tell me, if you can put one foot in front of the other, that's all a race is. That's all a run is, especially ones with, normal cutoff times, nothing super highly competitive. This is about having fun, remembering that. And even if I did fall in the middle of the race or just drop and stop, whatever, he said, it's not the end of the world. You're still trying it. You're still going to attempt it. There's nothing wrong with trying something that scares you. And that is the underlying thing in this video. But of course, we want to know, going in, we have a really good shot at finishing. So I just want you to know I was right there with you. I really thought that something was going to drop out of the sky and end my race. And I thought it was a total shot in the dark that I could actually get through that. So I want to start on a big positive here, which is that you guys have already done a lot more laying of the foundation than you realize. If you've run a half marathon already and trained for the half marathon already, it means you've already gotten comfortable, relatively, in the double digits for mileage, and that's massive. I would say the biggest difference that happens in running is that cross from 30 minutes in the neighborhood over to the hour, hour and a half, 2-hour mark. Figuring out a way to keep your body moving, running, breathing, feeling okay mentally for that longer period of time. You have created a system already, and we're gonna build on that system for the full, but you have it in place already. That's so huge. That is a huge leg up on someone going from, say, the couch to the marathon distance. So in my case, I had done a few half marathons on the road, relatively flat, decent weather conditions. It had been a time of year I had specifically chosen to know I'd be okay, etc. And then I found a half marathon that was going to be up in the mountains, questionable weather, hilly, some technical terrain, definitely going to take me a lot longer than something on the road. But in my mind, it was still a half marathon. I knew I had done a half marathon distance before. You can see how this begins to help you understand that you are capable of more within what you've already built. So yes, different terrain and different technicality, weather, etc., can be stressful, but if you know that you've covered that distance before, something in your brain tells you, yeah, I can handle that. It might be different, but I can handle it. What I really loved about trying something like that before going to a full marathon was understanding that if I could create ways to problem solve for certain conditions or certain experiences, I would trust myself to figure out other problems along the way, whether those had to do with terrain or just me being tired. And when we experience our first full marathon, we understand we really hit some new roadblocks that we definitely get through, but we hit new ones that we've maybe never experienced before. So starting to get comfortable getting around those, past those with our mind and body is the first step in this. So we know how many training plans are built on mileage alone. We know the focal point, especially in getting up for the half marathon distance, is around making sure you can cover that distance beforehand. You're building, 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 you taper down, you go race. Now the difference with something that's more technical or more challenging mountain type race, even in the half marathon distance, is you start thinking about time on feet in your training process. So you might hear that term, you've probably heard it in my videos, or maybe even some ultra friends of yours have talked about it, but time on feet becomes really important because regardless of how much distance you're covering, if you're out there for 4 hours or 5 hours, problem solving, still putting one foot in front of the other, even if it's slow, really slow at certain times, you're eating through that time on your feet, you're drinking through that time on your feet, you're figuring out weather and changes of clothes, blisters, etc. You're starting to understand how to keep the machine, like I said, our body, running, moving forward, one foot in front of the other over that time period. And I think that was the biggest change in my confidence, was understanding if I can trust myself to get through multiple hours anywhere on any terrain, I can certainly find a way to get through a full marathon because I trust myself. I have tools for that. I think what makes something feel easier or harder is just its comparison to something you've already done. So perspective is everything. I really loved going to do that mountain half marathon because it taught me a lot, and it made anything thereafter on the road with less incline decline feel a lot more manageable, even if it was longer. So already having that perspective is huge, showing yourself, wow, I got through that, I can get through this too. I have a way to do it. Secondly, guys, logistics of training for a marathon should look very similar to the half. Of course, we're upping the mileage, but I like to see this as your plan. Every week, I want to see you do a hill workout, even if you have a dead flat race. I want to see you do a tempo workout where you're working on some intervals, some speed, working on good form at higher speeds and your normal speeds, but interval style. And then, of course, a long distance run that you will build on through the weeks, having that time to get comfortable under that load on your body for several hours prepping for the marathon. Outside of those runs, of course, I want you guys to be getting some strength work in because it really, really is the foundation to an injury-resistant body and a body that understands itself a lot better than someone who's just going out, banging out the miles and not looking under the hood. I want you guys to get strength work in that does support that running. Lunges, single leg work, balance work, squats, of course. We don't need to go too heavy on anything, but we need to make your body feel that resistance, work against that resistance, and feel like it has a layer of defense against getting hurt. This will also really help you in your stamina across the marathon distance. Outside of that, I want you guys, of course, to have a full recovery day, and I want you to warm up, cool down, and manage your body as you're moving through those weeks of training. The best way to find problems before they're really too big to handle is through these warm-ups, cool downs, and body maintenance. When we slow things down, we can see problems coming up in little bits, and we can manage that before we have to go to the doctor and get x-rays and all of that stuff. So that's the foundation. It looks very similar to how I would have you guys train for the half, but of course our mileage will be higher on our long runs. We'll be building on that. Now I'm gonna get very real with you guys. What exactly sets the full distance so apart from the half? Why have so many people run a half marathon and so few people run the full? It is that mental side of it. You either hate it or you love it, but when you experience it, you can tell how different it is from what you experienced in the half marathon. I remember vividly my first full marathon. It was Big Sur Marathon. And I remember at mile 20 on the dot, because there were mile markers every single one. There were like big, huge, signs and everything for each mile. At 20, I hit that wall. And I didn't know if it was because someone had told me in a video that you're gonna hit a wall, or somebody had told me like without fail, you'll hit that wall, whatever, at mile 20, but I felt it. I actually felt like someone was physically pressing against me, backing me up on the course. And it was really interesting because up until that moment, I thought I knew what hard work was. Like I said, I'd been up in the mountains doing even that half, but kind of experiencing that technical terrain. I had not experienced this type of feeling where it felt like if I wanted to give up right then and there, it would be so easy to do so. It was the closest feeling I had to what I described in the beginning of this video of feeling like you're just gonna collapse and you can't do it. But what was so cool about that experience is watching what I did to get around it. That was a roadblock. How did I get past it? It was the first time I really experienced my mind and body kind of fighting each other. And when one fell, the other had to pick up the slack. And I watched myself go back and forth with that through the last 6 miles. I am not kidding. When I finished the race, I actually felt awesome. Had I not pushed through that mile 20 mark, I wouldn't have experienced the finish. So it was my first time really understanding that how you feel or how you're speaking to yourself is not the reality. There is a lot left in the tank. David Goggins, you guys know I always reference this. He always talks about that. We think we know when we're at the end of our rope and we're not even close. And this was my first experience in that. I actually went on to love ultra running for that exact feeling right there and testing myself to go beyond. But I want you guys to know that yes, if you were to hit the wall, mile 20, mile 18, whatever in the race, It is just part of the experience. As my dad always reminded me, putting one foot in front of the other was all I had to focus on. If you could put right foot, left foot, right foot, left foot, you could keep going. It didn't matter if it was pretty, not pretty, if you had to slow it down, if you had to walk, if you had to wait at the aid station. If you could keep going, you were still in it. I can truly tell you guys that I've never to date felt pride like I did at the finish line of that first full. Even my first 100-miler did not feel that way, because in that full, that was the first time I really experienced thinking I wasn't gonna be able to finish and watching myself do it anyway, negotiating with my own brain, my own body, that I had laid the foundation for. Yes, you can do this, you've done the training, you've done the work, you will be able to get through it, and then watching myself see it through was so cool. I know if you guys have watched up to this point, you have it in you. I know that you do. We sign up for these things because it scares us. That's the whole point. There is a whole level of unknown. There's always a risk of us not finishing, something happening. But we believe in ourselves enough to try. And I think that's so, so rare. And if you can do that, even sign up and start, that lays the foundation for the rest of your life. I can't tell you how much my life outside of running has changed because of it. I'm so proud of you guys. Let me know what else you need. If you want me to do logistics of how to train for that full, please let me know. We'll do it. I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.